Never Stop Learning, week 266. We're going to take a quick look at the Burn tool in Adobe Photoshop CC 2015. All right, so to activate the Burn tool, just hit the O key on the keyboard. Notice that actually activates the Dodge tool. Well, the Burn tool is in the same stack. What you want to do to access the other tools in the stack, just hold down the Shift key and then hit the O key a couple of times. Notice it's going to cycle through the different tools that are in that same stack. Now, once you see that little hand, that's where you want to stop because that's the Burn tool. All right, so the way this guy works is it's just going to darken up some areas. It's the opposite of the Dodge tool. So I'm going to increase my brush size, and I'm going to come in here and just do a click and drag all along the background. Now I'm pretty much using just the default settings in here. All I did was increase the brush size, and you might be able to notice already that I'm just kind of darkening up the background area, and trying to ignore my subjects over here in the foreground, but I'm just doing a quick job of it. Anyway, back over here in the layers panel, I'm going to show you the before and the after. All right, so there you go. You get a good idea of how this guy works. Again, it's the opposite of the Dodge tool. It's just going to darken things up, kind of like the name suggests. Burn tool kind of makes things a little bit darker. All right, so I'm going to switch over to this other document here. Now, over in the top left, I'm going to right click on this icon so I could reset this tool, and that's going to bring it back to how it was by default. If I come back over here in the upper left again, do a regular click on that same icon, this is where we could actually manage our presets. So what you want to do is get this tool set up exactly how you want, and then come in here and click on this icon. When you click on that, it's going to create a new tool preset, and you can create several of these, and that way you could have several different burn tools in here to choose from. All right, so I'm going to dismiss this guy. Next to that, we have our preset picker. In here, you can change the size of your brush, the hardness of your brush, and you also have your presets down over here at the bottom. Now, if you want some additional presets, just click on this gear wheel right here, and you have some additional options that will help you out with that. All right, I'm gonna hit escape, and one more time. Now, next we have this icon of like a folder. If you click on that, that's gonna bring up the brush panel for you. In here, it looks kind of like what we saw earlier, except for you have a ton of additional options over here for brush tip shape, and that's going to help you get the exact brush you want for your particular project. All right, so if we go back to the top and click on that same folder looking icon, it's actually going to dismiss that panel for us. We can also right click in our document while we have this tool activated, and again we have access to size, hardness, and our presets right over here. This way we have access to all these different functions right inside of the document without having to go to the edges of the user interface to kind of look around for that stuff. All right, so you hit escape to get out of that. Next, over here at the top, we have range. Currently it's set to midtones, but if you click on this drop-down menu, notice you have access to shadows and highlights. So depending on your project, you might want to make a change in here. I'm going to keep it set to midtones. And next we have exposure. So by default, it's set to 50%. I'm actually going to crank this guy up somewhere in the 90s. All right, cool. And then I want to increase my brush size so I can show you guys how to work with this. Now, the way I did it earlier was I'm actually using a Mac, and on my keyboard, I held down Control Option with a regular mouse click. And once I drag this guy around, I'm able to change my brush size, and I have this little annotation giving me some feedback about the changes I'm making. All right, there we go. Now, if you want to do it on a PC, it's going to be Control, Option, and a right click. All right, so click and drag right in here. Going over in the background area. Great. Now what I want to do is back off on the exposure. I want to bring this down to about 25%. So I'm going to hit 25 on my keyboard. Notice it made the change over there at the top for me. And now I'm ready to just go ahead and paint down over here. Now, I wanted to bring up that keyboard shortcut so that, again, there's no need for you to find the edge of your user interface. Just go ahead, plug in the exact number you want, and continue painting. All right, now I'm going to jump into the layers panel, show you guys the before and the after. So that's pretty much how I would work with the exposure. So you want to make some changes in there depending on your particular image. All right, I'm going to bring the exposure up to 100% by hitting 0. Because that's going to help me show you what the next features do. Now I'm going to skip the airbrush for now and jump right over to this guy. This one's already turned on, and I leave it turned on all the way because it's going to minimize the clipping in my shadows and in my highlights, and it's also going to make sure that I don't really shift my colors in my image. Now I am using an exposure of 100% keep that in mind. So let me show you how it works with this feature turned on. All right, let's bring this guy up a little bit. All right, so I'm just going to click and drag around here. All right, do it one more time, click and drag. So things are getting darker. And even though I have it set to 100%, you don't really start seeing some damage until like the third and fourth pass. All right, so I'm going to undo that by hitting Command Option Z a couple times. There we go. Now over here at the top, let's turn this feature off so we could see how it actually helps us. All right, so I'm going to click and drag. That's one pass. Click and drag. Notice already on the second one, I'm already causing some real damage. And the third one, it's starting to kind of weird. It almost looks like a goldfish. All right, so Command Option Z a couple times to bring it back to normal. So that's where the benefit of this feature is over here at the top. You want to turn this on so you make sure you're not clipping your shadows and your highlights. It'll just kind of help you protect your image. But in some cases, you might want to turn that off. Now I'm going to leave that turned off because it's also going to help me show you guys how the Airbrush style works. All right, so currently it's turned off. So notice if I click here once, I just get one instance of that burn. All right, so I'm going to undo that. Let's turn the airbrush on, clicking on it once. So basically it's going to work as though you're constantly spraying once you hit that mouse click. All right, so I'm going to click once and notice it build up really quickly. You might not have noticed it, so let me undo that. All right, pay close attention. It's actually going to build up. Click and hold. There it is. All right, so I'm going to undo that, turn this feature off. The last feature we have is going to control your brush size. Now this is going to be for people using a pressure controlled tablet. If you turn this feature on, it's going to use the pressure that you're using on that tablet to determine the size of your brush. If you have this feature turned off, it's going to use whatever you have right here for size. All right, so I'm going to turn that guy off. Now the last thing I wanted to show you guys is the reason I didn't use the same example that I used for the dodge video was you just don't want to use it like on teeth and face, somebody's face or something like that, because if you were to kind of start burning things up in here, it almost looks like this person was smoking cigarettes for a really long time or something. So anyway, you don't want to use it on this type of image, but it's going to work great, for areas like this where you want to kind of subdue the background and really bring your subject into the forefront. So there you have it, folks. That's a quick look at the burn tool in Adobe Photoshop CC 2015.